Well, hello everyone. My name is Susan Moore, and I am the current program chair for the local Volusia Flagler chapter of AFP, which is the Association of Fundraising Professionals. I have several of our AFP board members on the call today too, Cynthia Ramirez and Hardy Smith and Pam Clayton. In case you have any questions about joining our AFP chapter, we would absolutely love to have you. We host monthly content that really is relevant for fundraisers, and we're happy to have membership, of course, but we're always happy to have guests at our monthly chapter meetings. Twice per year, we actually partner with SNAP through James Moore, which tends to have a lot more broader content. And so in April and in October, we partner and we do a joint presentation. So as program chair, I was delighted to recommend Chad for this particular presentation because I had the opportunity to see him a couple of different times now at Planet Philanthropy. And as a single person shop fundraiser, I just really appreciated his energy and how practical and actionable his tips are. And it continued to be through his website and some of the resources that I'm sure he'll share. But very happy to have you here on our AFP SNAP joint workshop. And certainly you can chat any questions that you have about AFP, but I'll turn it back over to our SNAP host, James Halloran, to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Susan. Well, today we have Chad Barger. He's a little bit north of us, West Pennsylvania area. So, if you want to know about Hershey, Pennsylvania, and you've never been there, I've been there before, a little bit younger when I went there, but fun place to visit. And who doesn't love chocolate? So, it's got to be the best. So a little bit about Chad's background. He is the chief strategist and owner of the firm Productive Fundraising. He teaches small not-for-profits and up to mighty not-for-profits and puts donors first and creates fundraising systems that deliver sustainable, growing revenues. Areas of expertise include optimizing fundraising communications, engaging boards in fundraising, unique and profitable fundraising events, and creative programs designed to boost donor retention. To many fundraisers, he's better known as @fundraiser Chad, which made me go look up your Twitter handle, so I'll get to that in a bit. The host of free monthly webinar as well. He's got a webinar series as well you could sign up for on his website. Would that be the place, Chad?
Yep, right on the front. Yep.
All righty. And he publishes a weekly email as well that you could download and get that email weekly. His website is productivefundraising.com and hosts one of the most comprehensive free, capital FREE, free for you guys, fundraising resources in the nonprofit sector. So I did check out his Twitter handle. I only use Twitter for my news because I don't have to go to a bunch of websites. I just get everything at once. So in his Twitter thing, it says he's a nerd, he's a proud dad, a husband, a foodie, which Hershey, that kind of goes with that. Anything with chocolate, it's kind of like bacon, same thing. And he's a hiker. So, Chad, I'll turn it over to you to do your presentation and welcome everyone. And as always, put stuff in the chat if you want as it comes along, and they'll take those questions either during or at the end of the presentation.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, James. Thank you, Susan. Thrilled to be with you all today. Would love to be with you all in person, but that's certainly we're not doing that yet, but my hope is I typically do a Florida trip every February, and maybe that can happen here next year. We'll see. Hit a couple chapters for AFP and kind of go from there. So I'm super excited for this invitation and this presentation. As I said in the pre-chat, this is my favorite presentation that I do because it kind of connects two sides of me. I'm a bit of a productivity nerd, as we're going to talk about, and I'm a fundraiser, and it's kind of how you use those together. So we don't talk about a lot of fundraising in here, but it's a lot of productivity, and it's not so much what we do, but how we do it and how we can be more effective in our work. So I'm going to hop right in. I don't need to tell you much about me. James did a great job there with my bio. Bottom line, I'm a fundraiser. I've worked for the organizations in the top row up there. I'm a certified CFRE. I'm a master trainer with the association. And these days, I spend my time primarily coaching small community-based nonprofits across the US and Canada on how to fundraise more effectively. And I have the honor of teaching the fundraising courses at both Temple University and Messiah University. So fundraising is what I do. But for this presentation, I need to add a little bit on to the intro, and I have a confession. I have a confession in that I have a bit of an addiction to these personal productivity books. It used to be that a new one came out, I had to order it right away. The Amazon box shows up on the front porch, and my wife would say, "Oh, what's this? What crazy things you have going on now? What are you going to spend all weekend learning?" Now they go right to my Kindle, so I don't have that problem as much anymore. But I just love this stuff. I love checkboxes, lists. You see, there's even one in my company logo. It's just kind of how I'm wired. And people kind of say, "Chad, why? Why do you care about this stuff so much? Why is it so important?" And I've done some analysis, but it's actually spread to my children. So this is my, he's 11 now, but this was his first to-do list. His first to-do list, I found it in his backpack about 3 years ago. And my favorite item on here is snuggle if enough time. So, but I'm a systems guy. I focus on the basics, build a system, put on an autopilot, and I like to say I'm kind of a productivity nerd. It's just how I am. How'd I get this way? It started young. I was in high school. I was a college prep major and in a highly competitive high school marching band. So yes, band nerd and productivity nerd, a lot going for me here. But I just didn't have the time. We practice 6 days a week. And how was I going to get all that done? So I read my first personal productivity book in high school, actually. From there, I was a part-time AmeriCorps member while I was a full-time college student at Slippery Rock University in Western Pennsylvania. And there again, I'm balancing time. I don't have a lot of it. I got to really make sure I use all of it and that energy and that focus. Then I married the love of my life, the lovely Mrs. Barger, 2 weeks after college graduation. So I'm starting my career in fundraising and learning how to be a husband at the same time. Again, no time. And then finally, I have these two young buggers right when I'm starting my fundraising consulting business. So always had too much to do, not enough time, needing systems to manage it. So my question is, does that sound familiar? Maybe you didn't just put all that shove in as much at one time as fundraiser Chad did, but we've all have too much to do. Too much to do, competing things. How do we balance it? How do we be as effective as possible? So that's kind of what I'm going to share today. I'm not going to go step by step through theory or walk you through one of the books, but I want to pull little snippets, little things, I call them hacks. So 33 hacks that the busy professional can implement to find more time, energy, and focus to better serve their work and their passions. This isn't just about work. So it's time, energy, and focus. That's really what we're going to work on improving today. And then it's not just work, it's about their passions too. So even in our fun and our relationships, how can we use some of this? So that's the introduction. That's what we're going to focus on. Again, I said the word hack. It's a strategy or technique adopted in order to manage one's time and daily activities in a more efficient manner. We're not hacking computers, but this is what the hack term today means. A little more housekeeping, and then we'll hop right into it. So I am going to go super rapid fire, but you can grab the slides, and I will point to a couple resources, a couple websites, a book or two as we go along. I have all of that linked up on my website. So if you go to productivefundraising.com/resources, everything will be right there. You'll need to scroll down a little bit. I have some presentations queued up later this week, but just look for today's date and snap/AFP, and everything will be right there. So that's really the only note you need, productivefundraising.com/resources. So, all right, so this term productivity, let's define it before we start working on it. What do we mean when we use the term productivity? Well, for me, it's a balance. It's a balance between efficiency and effectiveness. That is kind of this productivity sweet spot. So it's what we do, being effective, but also how we do it. So we can't just do one or the other. They have to be working together and in balance. But today we're going to focus a bit more on that how you do it side, not necessarily the what, not this productive fundraising techniques that I talk about all the time, but that how. How do we do them? Okay, let's get right to it. I have this jam-packed with 33 hacks. We'll see if we can get through it here in time and go for some Q&A at the end. So I'm gonna hop right in here. So the first couple hacks, we're gonna talk about this: time, energy, and attention. Time, energy, and attention. This is the 3 critical elements for productivity where people tend to struggle the most. So first, let's talk a little bit about time. Time, none of us have enough of it, right? We all want more. And most of us want more time for us. You know, not more time to work, not more time to deal with other people's problems, more time for us. So my first hack is simply own some time for you. For some of you, own your mornings. This is actually how I launched my business. I was still working full-time as a frontline fundraiser for an organization. I gradually moved my wake-up time back about 15 minutes every week until I was getting up at about 5 in the morning. I got up at the time, my kids were young. My wife was working part-time, so I had complete quiet house until about 7:30 in the morning. 2.5 hours to get whatever I wanted done. So I was launching a business, but that could be self-care, working out, devotions, whatever you want time for, a hobby, you know, but carve that time out. The flip side of that is I had to go to bed a little earlier, but what was I taking away? You know, it was basically like mindless time in front of the TV. I would gladly trade that in for time to get my stuff done, time to work on something important to me. Some of you are groaning and saying, oh, I am not a morning person. I can't do that. Well, you can do the same thing in reverse. Own your evenings. Own your evenings. Maybe your house gets quiet around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you still have plenty of energy, and you want to take that 10 to midnight period and do what you want in that time. You know, maybe it's, I need to get a little extra work done, or maybe it's, I want to practice this hobby. I want to learn something. Whatever it is, just own it. Own your morning, own your evenings. I do know a couple people that have like owned midday, especially in pandemic time where we have a little more flexible schedules. They've kind of taken a break in the middle of their day and done something there. Whatever works for you, just find some time for you. Own it, set it aside. Next, the frog. The frog. Eat the frog. Eat the Frog. So this is a productivity book by this name, written by Brian Tracy, pretty old now, probably about 15 years old. And the concept is, in that time you're owning, eat the frog first. Do the thing that is going to move the needle the most for you first, even if you don't really want to do it. Nobody wants to eat a frog, but if you just get it done, get it out of the way, then it's over with. Then no matter what happens the rest of the day, you got that critical task done. So do it first, bite the bullet, eat the frog. So that works in theory, but I found that when I was eating the frog first thing in the morning at 5 a.m., I didn't want to eat that frog first thing in the morning at 5 a.m. Before I get to the next one. So for years, I've done this presentation and I had this slide. And then like last month, somebody told me, Chad, that's not a frog, that's a toad. So this is my gorgeous new frog slide, but I still have to keep the toad in because I'm kind of attached to him. But I can't start with the frog. It makes me dread mornings. So I need to ease into it. So I start with a few tadpoles, all right? Tadpoles. So maybe some smaller tasks, maybe some admin tasks, some things to check off a couple quick wins. Then I tackle that frog. But within that first half hour, I'm already moving to that most critical task. Use your precious time, your time when this is working the best, to get those key things done that's going to move the needle for you and your organization. Also with time, and maybe a little bit with focus. What is he doing? He is multitasking. But in reality, we really can't multitask. I actually confess I've listed ability to multitask as a strength in a job interview in the past. It sounds great, right? But what are we really doing? We're really just sharing our focus between different tasks. We're switching. We're going back and forth rapidly between different tasks. Okay, still sounds okay. But we find the psychologists and scientists that study this, yes, there are scientists that study personal productivity. They actually see that there's something called switching cost. Switching costs. So every time we switch tasks, our brain is not operating at peak efficiency. And it's estimated every time we switch tasks, between 17 and 63 seconds are lost in just, not being as efficient and having to ramp our brain back up with that focus. So, I mean, 17 to 63 seconds and we're multitasking, that adds up very quickly. It's very easy to lose a half hour or an hour a day simply because we're not focusing on one task at a time. So that's the key. Can we focus on one task at a time? There's all different ways to do this, things like Pomodoro techniques, focus music, whatever works for you. But find a way to be able to focus on one task at a time and quit going back and forth rapidly. Quit losing all that time to switching cost. What's one of the biggest items that steals our attention? Right, notifications. Notifications. So, it's usually this thing, all right? These little mini computers we all carry around in our pockets, handbags, briefcases, whatever, right? Every time we put an app on, the default is notifications on, and then it can steal our attention whenever we want. You're in charge of that. You decide. Same thing with your computer. You can turn those off. Please, if you have the new email notification alert on, where even if it can just pop up, even if the sound's off, but that pop-up, that steals your attention for a split second. If you do nothing else today, turn that off. You will reclaim so much of that switching cost. So turn off non-essential notifications. I have it as a habit where anytime I put a new app on, I instantly go into the settings for that app and turn off the notifications to decide what it can alert me to. This thing only makes a noise now if a really close relative or kid, school, something like that, calls twice within 2 minutes. That's the only way I let it disturb me. That's the code for something really important is going on. You decide. You decide. When do you look like this? When is your attention, your energy just drained? For some of you, you're slow starters. It's first thing in the morning. Some of you go out strong and have a late morning slump. A lot of you have a post-lunch slump, right? You're coming into it. And then there's those of you like me that get up early, go strong, and by 3 o'clock, I'm done. I'm done. No more brain energy. So you know it. Plan for it. Know and plan for your low energy time of day. When does that happen to you? When? You know it. What goes during that time? What goes during that time? What do you do during that time? You don't do writing. You don't do planning. You don't do the intensive work where you need your creative energy. You do email. Email, the perfect thing for there. I'm going to say it multiple times probably today because I love the line. What is in email? Email is an entire box of other people's problems. It's other people's problems, things they want from you, things they're getting back to you, going back and forth. Don't give email your best mind. Don't give it your best energy. It doesn't take a ton of brain power to respond. Now, if you're crafting this, big glorious message to your board on something going on, yeah, maybe we draft that during our time, but not replying to email. Save that for that low energy time of day. Another time stealer and focus stealer, dinner. Specifically for those of you with families, and if you are the cook or the food getter, whatever, when do you start thinking about dinner, right? A lot of people, all of a sudden it hits 4 o'clock and they think, oh, what are we going to do for dinner? What's for dinner tonight? Oh, I didn't get anything out of the freezer. Oh, I got to go to the store. Oh, what are we going to order for takeout? It's just this little thing starts going in our mind, this little worry, this little distraction. Eliminate that distraction. What do? Plan your dinners. I can almost hear the groans right now. Plan your dinners, right? Take a little time once a week, plan it out. So I'm the cook in my family. My wife's the grocery shopper. Well, now she's the person who drives to the store and then they bring the groceries out, weird times. But yeah, so what do? We sit down 20 minutes Sunday afternoon, plan it out for the week. I know what we're cooking. It's all done. We can schedule the defrost. We even schedule the leftovers. And guess where it goes? It goes right on a shared Google Calendar for the whole family. So I never have to answer the question, hey dad, what's for dinner? It's go look at your calendar. It is on there. They know, they don't ask me anymore. It's fabulous. But plan your dinners, get that stressor out of the way. So I could do this whole hour on hacks for time, energy, and attention, but I want to get to some other things, some other areas that we can address with productivity. So I'm going to send you to another area where you can go if you want to learn more hacks for this area. So there is a great website, podcast as well, called Asian Efficiency, and they have something called the T framework. T is an acronym for time, energy, and attention. And within it, they have tons and tons of hacks to help you reclaim more time, energy, and attention in everything you do. So that is linked up on the resources page. But if you want to dig in deeper there, I highly encourage you to do that. If you're a productivity nerd like me, that web podcast, I consider it to be the best podcast out there for personal productivity. So something great to check out as well. But I want to transition and get to a little more of the nuance we do in our work and apply some principles to this. So let's start with meetings. Let's start with those meetings. Okay. All right, meetings. Meetings. Yes. First off, does it have to be a meeting? This is actually a t-shirt that you can buy. I survived another meeting that should have been an email. Does it have to be a meeting? Would it be a better use of everybody's time if we just, spend a little time, quick phone call, send the email, whatever. Let's think through that. Meetings are so bad that somebody actually took the time to do the graphic work to change this Fisher-Price thing to the soul-crushing meeting playset. I love this one. I had to grab it. I like the side there. Now your kids can suffer just like you. But yeah, they're painful. When they're not done well, they're very painful. So let's do a couple meeting tips. First off, does it spark joy? All right, here we go with big book a couple of years back, Productivity Organization System, Marie Kondo. Let's Marie Kondo our meetings and ask, does it spark joy? Does it spark joy? Does this meeting need to happen, or is it painful? If it's painful, can we get rid of it? Or can we shorten it? Can we somehow make it more efficient? So just thinking through that, which are the ones that are painful? Those are the ones we need to focus on. So here we are, we're in our meeting. I love this image. I've used it in a couple presentations, been using it for years. I always say the only thing good going on here is they're well hydrated. I have no clue why they have this much water, but we're gonna try to fix a couple things in this meeting. First off, there's just too many people here. There's probably too many people here if we want to have a meeting where we can have input from everyone and discussion and strategizing and brainstorming, and all those kind of things. Those are what meetings for. But we can't do it when they get too big. So a tip I've heard here is something called the 2 pizza rule. 2 pizza rule states that for any meeting, you should be able to feed everyone there lunch, not a massive meal, but a light lunch with 2 pizzas. So, you're thinking 2 pizzas, 8 slices per pie, 2 slices each. We're looking kind of probably around that 8 to 10 is probably the max for a meeting where we want everybody to participate. So 2 pizza rule, maybe that can help to tone down those meetings. A lot of times we have people just coming to meetings to observe. They're not active participants. Do they need to be there? Could we have somebody take notes or minutes and send it out later of here's what happened at the meeting? And they could just read that for 5 minutes rather than waste a whole hour. No? Do we have the right people in the room? It's one question. Next, what's he doing? He's not doing what I said. He's not leading, brainstorming, strategizing, sharing, discussing. He's presenting. He's showing data. He's putting a report forward. Meetings are not for reports. We can send that information out ahead of time. Meetings are for discussing reports. If we have any questions, getting clarification. Nonprofit board meetings, so often, the first half of it, if not 2/3, are spent going through the reports. Going through, the executive director's report, the development committee report, the programs report, the financial report, all of this. It's all reports. Should all be sent ahead of time. The expectation should be there that you read it and come prepared. And then we just ask for questions about the reports. so that we can get to the strategizing, the key elements of the meeting. So no reports at meetings, find a way to get them out of there. Consent agendas are a great tool for board meetings. Highly encouraged to go that route. My final meeting tip is something I find very common with standing meetings. So meetings that happen, monthly, quarterly, even a weekly staff meeting, whatever. We kind of get there and we have a discussion about something. We don't really reach a conclusion and we just end. And then next month it comes around. This happens very frequently with development committee meetings. I've seen it so often. It comes around, we get to that meeting and we have essentially the same discussion because we didn't resolve anything. We didn't find any way to move it forward. So my tip here is if you see you are in one of those meetings, that you've just wasted an hour of your life and it's not going to go anywhere, ask this question. Whether you called the meeting or not, as it's starting to wind down, maybe there's 5 minutes left, kind of say, I think we've had some great discussion today, but I'm not sure we've reached any conclusions or gotten anywhere. Who is going to do what by when to get us to the next step, to get us to the next level, to the point where we can make a decision. And it's usually we need a little more information, we need to talk to somebody else, we have to pull somebody in, something like that. So just get somebody, and it can be anybody in the meeting, who is going to get that piece distributed to the group so we can move forward the next time and not waste another hour with the same discussion. So who is going to do what by when? Ensure action. All right, that will help your meetings immensely. The right purpose, making sure something comes from them, getting those reports out of there. Next, learning. Learning may seem like an odd topic for a productivity presentation, but learning is what I view as basically the #1 skill set for any nonprofit leader. That willingness to learn. And kudos for learning today. You're spending your lunch hour learning. Not everybody's willing to do it. Especially some people get a little later in their career and say, I know everything about this. And they start coasting. As soon as we start coasting is when things start going downhill. So that getting that inspiration and those new ideas is essential. That fuels everything else you do. But so often, we run against people in our organization, not always older, not always male, but they kind of say the same thing. They say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Maybe they're on your events committee. And they say, we've been doing this gala for 20 years. It works perfectly fine. We don't need to change. Well, didn't this past year prove them wrong, right? But yeah, so if they say this, or maybe they say, that's the way we've always done it. Sometimes we have founders syndrome, those kind of things. But, we need to be able to defeat that, to show the value. So learning something new every day allows us to kind of counter that of, we do this, but if we looked at doing this way or tweaking it slightly this way, we could do even better. And having that plan and not just ideas out of the blue. So learning every day really empowers us to stand up and take our organization to the next level. How do you learn every day? Read something. I don't care what, just read something. It can be a industry magazine. It can be a blog post. It can be a podcast you listen to while exercising. I don't care. Take in some information. Get that inspiration. I find the best stuff that I read is actually not fundraising or nonprofit related. Things like the Harvard Business Review or, even the Wall Street Journal or something. I've gotten some of my best ideas that I've then applied to the sector through that. Even fiction sometimes can give you ideas. Just read something. Read every day. I have a link to my reading list on the resources page. So that's very certainly fundraising heavy, but there's some general nonprofit information as well. And there is some personal productivity book recommendations in there too. My last tip with learning is probably what my favorite app is on my phone. And this is Pocket. Pocket is an app. It's actually a browser extension. So the way I use this is, let's say I need to put a post on my company page on social media. So I go there, I get my post up, and social media wins and distracts me. And one of my friends has posted an article that I want to read. So, I go to the article, I start reading, but I don't want to devote the 15 minutes right then when I'm focused on getting something done to that article. I want to be able to save it for later. So the browser extension is there. It has this little red logo. I click that and it saves the article to my pocket. Then on the website or on the app in my phone, it's a chronological list of everything I've saved. And it's kind of a nice, they cut all the ads out. It's easy reading experience. And then I read my pocket whenever I'm in all those little moments of time. So I'm waiting in the car before an appointment. I'm at the dentist's office. I was doing it here before we came on to the Zoom. You know, I'm sitting in the waiting room waiting to come on. Just read and get a couple little articles done. Flag things, use those little minutes of time. Don't aimlessly use them surfing social media, or you'll be looking at cat photos from somebody you haven't seen from high school. Use that time. Everybody can find that little bit of time to learn. A tool like Pocket can help you even more. Free app, I think it has a paid plan. I don't know what the paid plan does. I don't use it. I think the website is getpocket.com, and I have that linked up on the resources page as well. All right. So, anybody need more information? No, none of us need more information, but we need a way to deal with this information we have, this information overload that keeps coming. It's more and more. We've certainly seen it through the pandemic with doom scrolling and just all this stuff coming, right? We have tons of information. We need a way to get that information from out of here and into something else, into a trusted system. This slide's showing it as a to-do list. It could be a whiteboard, a wall you write on, whatever, some kind of system, some kind of book, maybe a bullet journal, whatever. Something you trust, your system, right? We need to get it out of the head. That is what causes us stress. When we have so much stuff going on here, that's open loops, and we're worried about dropping the ball, right? So get it out of your head and into your trusted system. You will have a much less stressful life. And two, your mind was meant to be a factory, not a warehouse. So our mind is not meant to store all this stuff. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to process and think and come up with great ideas. But it can't do that if we have so much stuff wedged into it. So get a trusted system, get those open loops out of your head and into there. So this is one thing I can't teach you today. I can't tell you what your personal productivity system should be, because we all have different styles. What I can show you is a way to learn your style and then get some recommendations for what might work best for you. We use the term personal productivity. We're all a little bit different, but you need to learn what your style is. So this is my book recommendation for today. It's Work Simply by Carson Tate, and it is a book that helps you identify your personal productivity style. There are 4 of them: prioritizer, planner, arranger, and visualizer. Most of us are a little mix of 2 of them. I am a prioritizer and arranger. I love lists, I like moving them around. That's just how I work. That would drive some of you nuts, especially my visualizers that want it big on a board, something like that. But we all have styles. So I have this book linked up on the resources page. And what I love about the book, there's a quiz you take to learn your style, and then there are specific recommendations based on your style, what will work best for you. So it's a good, easy read, kind of a fun exercise, and can really help you refine what's working. And that's the key. I'm always refining. I've been working on my system for, 25 years now. And it's still changing. Every month I probably tweak something. It evolves as you evolve. There's no right or wrong style. The key is knowing your style and owning it. I can say, regardless of your style, there's a couple things you need. You need to be able to capture at any point in time. Capture. Get whatever's going on in here and get it into your system. And that requires tools. There's all different tools you can use, but you need a way to, no matter where you are, be able to do that. So here are the tools I use. So first and foremost, I have a notebook. I use a Moleskine notebook. It's got nice smooth paper, a nice pen that I like. I'm currently really into these Sigma Micron 5 Pigma pens, nice Japanese calligraphy pens. So, tools you like, you will use. So I always have this with me in a meeting. It's in front of me. I'm recording action items. That works really well, except for a couple places. The first place it doesn't work well is when I'm out and about, like when I'm in the car, when I'm on a walk, when I'm exercising. But in those situations, I pretty much always have this thing with me. Many times I'm connected to it with an earbud or something. And they have these great voice assistants now. So I can't say the word on the screen or she's going to ask me what I want. But when I'm driving and I think of something that needs to go on the grocery list, I simply say her name and add toilet paper to the grocery list. And it's done. It's there. I also have it linked directly to my task manager. So I can say, add this to my to-do list. And it's right on there when I get back to my office. No drop balls. So we did that, we got the notebook. Notebook at the end of the day, my last step is I always look in there and move anything to my system. Works perfectly. There was one place left. One place that I would get the greatest ideas and then forget about them. Where's that happen? The shower, right? We get our best ideas in the shower. It just kind of takes us out of the moment, lets our brain wonder and synthesize a little bit. But I'd be drying off and what was that great idea? I forgot it. I fixed this with this at the time, this was probably about 8 years ago now. My kids were still quite young. They had bath crayons. I took one of their bath crayons, I moved it to my shower, and here you see it. This is actually my shower with the note to add this slide to this presentation. Just write it on the wall. Once a week, my task manager says, go look at the shower wall, see if there's any brilliance there for you, right? It works really well. And I finally did it. I finally did it. I found a company that would logo print on bath crayons. So I now have Fundraiser Chad bath crayons. When the day comes that we see each other in person, I always have these with me. Hit me up for a pack of Fundraiser Chad bath crayons and arm your shower to capture those fabulous ideas as well. I get a little bit of heat for this, even from productivity nerds that thinks this one's a little excessive, but I love it. My wife also likes to have fun with it. A couple of years ago on Halloween, we had a red crayon in there at the time, and she did this on the shower wall. And so this was on my Instagram, and like a year later, my Instagram just blows up and I start getting all these hits on this post, and I can't figure out why until I eventually saw that it was picked up on BuzzFeed, and this post, 15 wives and girlfriends who outsmarted their partners in ways they didn't even see coming. So featured in there. Everybody loves to pick on productivity nerd Chad. So fun times. All right. I've skirted around it. We've talked about it a little bit, but let's deal with email. Let's deal with that email. It's a big problem. Here we go, 179. I got 2 camps going on right now. Half of you are in cold sweats. Oh my gosh, 179. That's what happens when I get back from vacation. It's so horrible. How can they deal with that? The other half of you are saying, that's nothing, add a 0 on the end and maybe I'd start getting a little concerned, right? Nah. We have 2 different camps, different styles. Some of us use an email as almost like a to-do list or a action box. We all have a system. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I will tell you that we all could use less, right? We all could use less email. The average executive receives 116 emails per day. 116 per day. It's crazy. We can spend all of our time in email. It's easy to spend half your time in email, no problem. You could probably even do more. 28% of the workday is the average time for most folks reading and answering email. Yes, we're getting some work done when we're doing that. But what did I say was in email? Right? It's mostly other people's problems. Unless someone is responding to a request we sent them, it's pretty much other people's problems. Other people wanting things from us or wanting our attention, wanting us to pay attention to that. All those newsletters we get. It's a company, an organization, a brand wanting us to pay attention to them. So let's try to do less email, right? I think that's the biggest thing we can do, just less email. Because what happens when we send an email, right? We send an email at 9 a.m., get a reply at 10. We reply to that at 10:30, comes back again at 12. We reply at 12:30, comes back again at 2. There are 5 or 6 touches throughout the day. Minute or 2 each, that quickly adds up. One email can be taking 15 minutes in that chain. What happens with them, right? We send an email, they come back. It has this boomerang effect, right? So sending fewer emails, or maybe thinking, should this be an email? Or maybe I pick up the phone and we have a 2-minute conversation rather than spend 15 minutes typing emails back and forth all day. Or when we get back to the office, maybe I just go down the hall and stick my head in the door and say, hey, do you have a quick second? Something like that. What's the best forum? Or can it wait? And can I hold it for our next one-on-one? So just thinking through that, being cognizant, what's the best format for this question? So minimize that boomerang effect, send fewer emails. With email, when do you check it? All right, we already did it. You check it during your low energy time of day, when you don't have that energy. Some of you should be doing email first thing in the morning. I do it last thing because I am out of energy for the day, right? Know that time, that's when you do the email. But one of those books I showed in the beginning was called Never Check Email in the Morning by Julie Morgenstern. And I would really love to do that. But guess what? I'm worried. I'm worried that a client or somebody, there's something urgent in there that needs my attention. So I can't close the email inbox and totally ignore it until 3 o'clock. I just can't. But I also don't reply. I don't deal with things that aren't urgent. So what I do is I schedule and I triage. So my email time is scheduled for 3 and I triage. So with this word triage, it's the word kind of coming out of hospitals or the military where we're dealing with the most pressing things. So this is why when you're sitting in the hospital ER and you have a super bad flu or cold or whatever, and somebody with a leg that's half sideways gets rushed ahead of you, or heart palpitations or something more serious, right? They go to the front of the line. Well, that's what we're doing. We're just scanning our email inbox. We're triaging it, and anything truly urgent, we're looking at that, and if it truly needs a reply, it can't wait till our time, we take care of it. Otherwise, it sits in there. Or for me, I can't deal with it sitting in there, so I move it to a reply later folder. It's just anal. I like things to be clean, right? Whatever works for you. Schedule and triage. Look, deal with what's urgent, but don't give your most effective brain time to your email inbox, to those other people's problems. All right, as we start to wrap up here, I want to talk a little bit about the other side, not just work. Hopefully you're not doing meetings and emails for fun. I know some with our volunteer work and other things that does play in there, but it's not the definition of fun for most of us. But life, that other side, those things we like doing, those people we like being with in our family, hopefully, and a lot of us have this balance, this challenge, or this quest we're on to balance it perfectly, right? That term, work-life balance. Work-life balance. I really don't like it. Because as soon as you achieve work-life balance, something will happen and you'll get tilted one way or the other. And that's okay. Sometimes life needs more time. Sometimes work needs more time. It's okay. The problem is when we stay one way for a long period of time. It needs to tilt back and forth based on needs. So I like the term work-life harmony. Harmony. It harmoniously switches back and forth based on what's going on. When it's golf tournament prep week at work, that's probably a 60-hour week, right? It's just going to happen. We got to tilt the work way. When it's a birthday for a kid or a close family member and we're prepping something special, it tilts the other way. It's fine. The key is it has to go back and forth. When you're tilted one way too long, that's when we run into trouble. We'll talk a little bit about grace and self-care. And I think this last year has taught us all important lessons with this, because we've needed to give ourselves a lot of grace and we've probably needed to do more self-care than normal. And I hope that's a lasting impact of the pandemic. But, just like it says, some days, you have to tend to yourself, and that's in there too. It's not just work and life. Maybe it's work, life, and self. That self-care is essential. I actually saw this in an office once. Snap the pic. You wouldn't let this happen to your phone. Don't let it happen to you either. Yeah, we take better care of these things than we do ourselves. So make self-care a priority. Find a way. This is a phrase I heard not too long ago. It's probably the newest slide in this presentation. What's your rest ethic like these days? We always talk about our work ethic. I have a great work ethic. I can buckle down and get so much done. The only way you can have a great work ethic is if you have the energy and are able to focus, have that attention, and have the time to do it. How do we build all those? Through rest. We have to have that energy. So what's your rest ethic like these days? What do you do to make sure you come prepared and ready to excel in what you do? establish that rest ethic. One thing that takes a ton of energy that I see some people do, especially people kind of early in their careers, kind of right out of college, kind of have two selves. Like I'm one person at work and I'm a different person at home or with my friends or whatever. I didn't go super hard down that path, but I was a little bit that way. And I can tell you, it's just exhausting of trying to put on a different persona one place. Managing one person is enough. Trying to manage two is a huge challenge. So just be oneself, just be yourself, find a happy middle, maybe take the extremism down on each side and just figure out who you are and be that. I think we've certainly all figured this out in the last year, especially back when we didn't think we were able to touch anything without infecting ourselves, right? We didn't want to go in anywhere. So automating the delivery of weekly, monthly essentials. You can get anything delivered. Those Amazon vans that circle all our neighborhoods constantly, yeah, they will bring you almost anything. And you can put a lot of that on autopilot. I love Amazon Subscribe and Save. Like all our essentials, I no longer go to Target or Walmart. It just automatically comes. Right? Automatically comes. Don't have to do anything, and you even get a 15% discount for doing it. So it's great. There's lots of services like that. You can get almost anything done that way. Don't spend that time out there. If you like to shop, get your essentials automated. You probably don't like to shop for them. And then your shopping time can be for fun stuff or more browsing. We don't have to do it anymore. Automate the essentials. This, what are they doing? Oh, my, how I miss it. They're on a date night, right? They're on a date night and they are up there in years, right? But they're still doing it. They're still prioritizing it. They're still making the time. So whether you are in a committed relationship or you're not, whether that's an interest to you, we all have close relationships. Maybe it's not with a significant other. Maybe this is with our best friend, our mom, whatever, but prioritize it. And I know some of you are going to cringe, but how do you prioritize it? You make a rule. You make a system. And I say, never stop dating, never stop maintaining those relationships. And the rule, it's called the 2-2-2 rule. The 2-2-2 rule. And this is every 2 weeks, go out for a night together. Every 2 months, go away for a weekend together. Every 2 years, go away for a week together. Just you, right? Those numbers probably don't work for you, right? My family, with my wife, we probably do in normal times do like a 4-4-1, right? We like that longer time together, more intensively, and ship the kids off to the grandparents and go for that, right? So come up with your rule. Put it in your system once a month. Think about it. Are you following it? Make it a priority. Make it a priority. Yes, the zombie apocalypse. These things, I've been pretty critical of these today. How much of your life is this thing controlling? How much time are you doing this, right? Think about it. Think about it. So we use this to fill all those little minutes, right? And I even recommended doing it with Pocket. Right? But we also need time away from the digital. We've all seen what Zoom fatigue does, right? So we need that time away. We all need something to let us kind of zone out productively, to let our brain just make connections. So we used to do things like this, right? Like knitting, crocheting, walking, running, whatever it is. For me, the zone out activity is hiking. I love hiking. I live right off the Appalachian Trail. I section hike that. I have nearly 250 miles done. That's my thing, right? I get out there on the trail. I don't put any inputs in, no music, nothing. I just let my brain wander. And that is when all my best ideas come. The shower and the trail. It's where every good idea for my business, everything I do has come from. So you need that time. You need an activity. You need an analog hobby with no inputs, practiced weekly. That's your synthesizing time. It could be in that morning you own or that evening you own. Whatever it is, maybe it's 2 hours on the weekend. You need some time. What is that? A lot of us have given that up. What did you used to do? Go back to it. And I can't do a presentation without at least one fundraising tip in there, so I'll sneak one in. It's one all fundraisers know, but not all do or don't prioritize making it happen. It's one of our most powerful tools. It's the handwritten thank you note. I preach this all the time. They're so powerful. I've had situations in my career where I send a handwritten thank you note right after somebody takes a meeting with me, just thanking them for their time. I show up a year later, it is pinned to the bulletin board behind their desk. Every day for a year, they saw that, thought of me in the organization. Right? It is powerful. It's incredibly powerful. But people say, oh, I don't have the time. They take too much. I don't know what to write. Well, here's my formula. 3-minute, 3-sentence thank you note formula. What happened, the impact, and what I appreciate, right? It's easy, 3 sentences. It looks like this. Thanks again for taking the time to meet with me. I'm confident that by working together, we can increase our impact in the community. I greatly appreciate your dedication to the cause. Thanks again, Chad, right? Appreciate, show that appreciation, essential. Of course, I have additional hacks with thank you notes. So I have that formula to make them quick. The other thing, have them with you. Right? We forget. We get back to the office, we get doing something else, a couple days go by, and then it seems pointless to do it anymore, right? Keep them in your handbag, keep them in your briefcase. I found it most effective to keep them in my car. So keep them in my car, right? So here's my car. You note, I do this before I go into the meeting. Do this before I go into the meeting. I pre-address it. It's sitting there on the passenger seat. As soon as I come out from that meeting, I scribble my 3 sentences, put it in the envelope, and on the way into my office or my house, I just drop it in the mailbox. It's that simple. It's on autopilot. It doesn't have to even get to our to-do list. It's important. We need to prioritize and make sure it happens. All right, our final tip. All of these hacks are changes. They're all something a little different. They're all something new. There will be some resistance and tension when you try one of these things. My tip is give it at least 30 days. And don't do 10 of these things at once. Try 2 or 3. Give it 30 days. After 30 days, do some evaluation. Do I want to do this? Is it working for me? Not all these things will work for you. You already know at least 10 of them that won't work for me. But some are in the middle and some are slam dunks. So figure those out a couple at a time. Give it 30 days. So those are our hacks. I'm going to get to your questions here in a second. Before you do that, I want to give you some additional resources. I would love to connect with any of you on social media. I'm on all the channels. I go by Fundraiser Chad as my handle everywhere. James mentioned Twitter, but I'm probably most active on Instagram and Facebook. So happy to connect if you'd like that. I share a mix of what am I up to, productivity tips, and fundraising resources. So that's what's there. I do have my firm, Productive Fundraising. We focus on fundraising coaching, board training, both virtual and in person. I do productivity coaching. So if there's a specific challenge or looking to create a system, those kind of things, I work with people one-on-one helping there. I teach a 10-week online fundraising certificate program through Temple University. We have a new cohort starting up in June, and a little bit of capital campaign support, and I love to do presentations. So always interested in conferences, chapters, those kind of things. As I mentioned, do have some productivity coaching opportunities as well. Information on that stuff is on the resources page. There's the link to that one last time. And with that, I am gonna switch off to your questions. So let me come off of slides here. And I see the chat has been busy, so probably lots of, oh my gosh, I can't believe he actually does that in there. So, but we'll open it up and feel free to put any questions in the chat or speak up.
Yeah, just go ahead and unmute yourselves. I know you guys are not shy most of the time.
Susan, I love an app for weekly dinner planning, Plan to Eat. I will have to check that out. So thank you.
You loved it. I lit a switch when you talked about that because we've been doing that for a while. Love it.
Yeah, it just takes all that stress out. So Plan to Eat. I got to make a note there. Writing in the moleskin, Plan to Eat. There we go. Mornings, when first thing I do is read a bit, seem to always be days when I am most productive. Thank you, Hardy. Yeah, that's great. I do the same thing. So I have I don't get up at 5 anymore. I've moved it back to 5:45, but I have a morning ritual, kind of the same things I do every day that sets up my day for success. And the last 15 minutes is read. Just read something to get this going a little bit.
Chad, did you learn anything in the Work Simply book about dealing with people that have different productivity styles than yourself? Was that something that was kind of addressed?
Yeah, definitely. So, reading through the various styles, I mean, some are almost polar opposites. And, I used to, when I first did this presentation, I had a lot more on, like I had my to-do list app that I use and, actual technical tools and things. And I took a lot of that out of here because, it only really works for about a quarter of the people that are like me. So learning that style's really, really the essential. But I always get that question when I say it. So what app do I use? Yes, I use Todoist. So it's Todoist. It's a digital to-do list. Allows me to rearrange things, which I love. I can just drag them, and then it syncs desktop, phone, everywhere.
Chad, have you being a productivity nerd, have you read Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I definitely agree with that. That art word. There is an art and a science.
That's good.
And figuring that out for sure. But yeah, I haven't thought of that in a while. That might be a good reread. Notes on my phone. I see that from Gene. Yeah, lots of people like the Notes app. Works well. The key is you got to check it. And so a lot of people like to fill up the boxes and stuff just sits there. That's just another bin of open loops. So making sure it gets where it goes. So great.
Well, thank you everyone for coming out today, and Chad, great job. And if I'm ever up in Hershey again, I'll give you a buzz. We can go on a hike or something.
Sounds good. Hike and then goes to a brewery. That's the perfect formula.
Yeah. That works well. Or in Daytona Beach, we do the other way.
Yes, that would work too. So it would definitely work too. So, yeah, and would love to see you all in person sometime. So if February tour works comes together, I'll reach out. So.
All right, Susan, anything from AFP you want to mention that's coming up?
No, I just put our chapter website in the chat along with my email address. If you have any questions about AFP, we have another content program on May 19th, I believe. And then we'll be doing some summer socials that we'd love to tell you about if you are interested in getting to know the members of our local chapter.
All righty, I just put my the James Moore one on our SNAP website. If you're not already a member of SNAP Nonprofit, it is just free to join SNAP Nonprofit. So thank you, everyone. And we'll be putting out some emails in the next couple of weeks on our next speakers. And Chad, wonderful job. And hope to run into you again. Everyone have a great day.